It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing two amazing young dentists. First, we'll go with Dr. Katie Heald, DDS, completed her undergraduate degree at Virginia Tech and went to dental school at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia. After dental school, she completed a general practice residency at the VA hospital in conjunction with the University of Florida in Gainesville. She has a strong background in medically compromised and geriatric patients and owns 4 offices where Dr. Heald and her care team actively treat thousands of patients in need. And she must be a damn good dentist because before dental school, she was Katie Heald, and now she's Katie Heald. She was successful in healing all of her patients. The next one is Dr. Ashley Keen-Ramirez, DDS, is the dentist partner of the Ruskin, Florida, Sun City location. She graduated from Louisiana State University. With years of experience, she and the rest of the Aspen team are proud to offer professional, compassionate care. She was born in Philadelphia, relocated to Northport, Florida, where when she was 10 years old and quickly became a Florida girl, loving the beach and sunshine. She subsequently moved to Coral Gables, Florida, where she attended the University of Miami and met her husband, Andrew. Her next move was to New Orleans, where she earned her DDS degree from LSU. She moved back to Florida after dental school and joined Aspen Dental in their Sun City location. And my God, I could read on and on and on. I just thank you so much for coming on this show today. I wanted you guys to come on because you only want to listen to a 58-year-old grandpa so much. I mean, my journey at dental school was in 1987, and so a quarter of our viewers are still in dental school, and the rest are all under 30. I think I'm the oldest guy that's ever listened to my podcast. So I wanted to hear from you, two young ones. How long have you each been out of school?
I graduated in 2012 and joined Aspen in 2013.
So you've been out 8 years.
Yep. And
how about Ashley?
I graduated in 2013.
So 7 years, 8 and 7. Yeah, I took algebra, so I could do that in my head. So what is it like? I just want to get right to the basics. What is it like? What do you think it would be like if you were the unfortunate, unlucky class of graduating the class of 2020, COVID 2020 class? I mean, I'm here in Phoenix. We got 2 dental schools. We got AT still in Mesa. We got Midwestern over here in Glendale. And, God, what would you say to those people? They're probably wondering what the hell's going on.
So I would say just, I'm sorry. What a horrible year to try dental school. But it's going to test your perseverance and your determination, and it's only going to make you a stronger clinician, better for your patients and your teams. I can't imagine the stress going through that right now with boards and trying to get requirements and seeing patients. So more power to you. And I can't even imagine what you're going through.
Well, that's amazingly optimistic. I always thought I was so lucky to graduate in high school in 1980 because 81 was the worst economy I've ever seen. The interest rates were 21%, double-digit inflation, unemployment. In fact, the Federal Reserve chairman had to have armed security taking him to work and back. I mean, it was just horrible, but it made you realize that good things can come to an end. And then I graduated from dental school in 87, May 11, 87, and September was Black Monday, where the market did it again. So right when I opened, I just hired my team. I can still remember like it was yesterday having a team meeting in our waiting room, and all my staff was scared. They're like, do you think we're going to have a job? And, I mean, just crazy. Katie, what would you tell them?
I think if they can get through this, they can get through a lot. If they can figure out a way to navigate through boards and getting a job and, staying in practice, I think they can really make it through a lot. And I think it's going to teach them a lot about the sustainability of dentistry, and that if they can make it through this, they can make it through a lot.
Well, I felt very fortunate to have Bob Fontana, the founder of Aspen, come on the show. He was episode 1333. And, when I got out of school in 87, the only people that would offer jobs to a new graduate was the about 20% of the class when mom and dad was already a dentist. So, you kind of had to end with your mom and dad. Or it was the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Public Health, Indian Public Health. And I am so thankful of all the jobs that the DSOs are providing to the new graduates. And I mean, there's so many, there's 168 hours in a week. And so many of the dentists my age, they only have their office open 32 hours a week. And they could have an associate and extended hours and provide jobs and all that. But who's really getting it done is the DSOs. And you work for Bob Fontana, Aspen Dental, one of the biggest DSOs. How was that like? Talk about your journey. How did you end up on Bob Fontana's doorway?
I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do after my residency. I wasn't sure if I wanted to specialize or what I really needed. And so I needed to find a job. I originally started in Florida, so wanted to stay in Florida. I wasn't ready to move back to North Carolina. So I found Aspen and started with Aspen, not really knowing if I was going to stay or not, but figured out I could develop my skills and practice really how I wanted. I was given a lot of autonomy to hone my skills, her surgical skills, and just really be on my own, but had a lot of support, had a lot of direction, a lot of guidance from the business side and also from a clinical side. I had tremendous mentorship and support and decided to stick around.
Group practice is more fulfilling than solo practice. Would you agree?
I completely agree. I even if I was the only provider in the office, I knew I was never alone. I was never on an island. I had plenty of people to reach out to. Even mid-procedure, I had people that I know would answer the phone if I had an issue.
Yeah, I hired my first associate, Bob Savage, straight out of dental school, same age as me, just because you go from dental school to 120 classmates to now being the only dentist in the building, and it just wasn't fun, and it was just far more fun and exciting to always be able to talk dentistry with another dentist. So you decided when you got a job there, you didn't know how long you'd stay. And now you've stayed 8 years, and you own 4 offices with Aspen?
Yes, 4 in North Carolina.
4 in North Carolina. So many people. In fact, there's even a thread on Dental Town. What does that mean? So are you so if you own 4 offices, is it a franchise, a partnership? I mean, is it like owning a McDonald's franchise, or how would you describe your ownership?
So Aspen is really the management firm that deals with a lot of the front office management, hiring, payroll, insurance negotiations, fees for supplies. And so they really handle a lot of that, and they're employed by me to take care of those things so that I can really focus on patient care.
So can you share the numbers of that? Like, when you say they're employed by you, like what % overhead or what % cost or?
It differs from state to state on what the percentages are based on state regulations and guidelines.
Yeah, and that is a mess. And some things in the United States, you can say, well, having a big country of 325 million, you have all these advantages of scale. But when it comes to healthcare, each of the individual states have micromanaged it to where it's just not, you can't say, oh, we get this big market in the United States like you can in shoes and so many other cars and all that kind of stuff. But the regulations in healthcare are absurd. So you have 4 offices, 8 years out of school. That's crazy. Is 8 the lucky number, or you already have more? Or you go? I mean, you have 4 offices in 8 years. Are you gonna shoot for more, or what's your goal?
I don't really have a goal. It's really what I feel like I can emotionally handle. If I feel like I've taken on plenty, then, I'll stop there. But I have a 5th one coming in October, and Aspen really helps with a lot of the management. So I can take on some offices, hire associates, and really get the offices up and going and running efficiently and effectively.
Now, are your offices all together in one city in North Carolina, or are they spread out throughout the state, or?
I have 3 within about 30 minutes of each other in central North Carolina, and I have 1 office in western North Carolina in Morganton.
And how long does that take you to get there?
About an hour and 45 minutes.
Okay, learn one lesson from my father. Will you please learn one lesson? So my dad was Howard Eugene Ferran, and it was a horrible idea. He named me Howard Eugene Fran II. So it was so confusing that before I was 10, everybody was referring to my dad as his middle name, Gene, and they referred to me as a mistake. And he had 5 Sonic drive-ins in Wichita, but he wanted to go national. That was, that was the extent of it. So he went to Abilene, Kansas, and Kearney, Nebraska north, and then south he went to Childress, Texas, and east he went to Louisville. Those 4 offices nearly killed him because when you have 5 locations in Wichita, your management team handled that like it was smooth. But man, when you have an office that has a problem and you have to go to Louisville, Kentucky, or Childress, Texas, it was just crazy. So, my gosh, why would you leave North Carolina? I mean, what's the population of North Carolina?
No, I have no idea off the top of my head.
No idea. Well, that's why
Google.
that's why God made Google. So let's see what the North Carolina population 2020 is 10 million people. Holy moly. So 10 million, and you need a dentist for every 2,000. I hope when you're as old and fat and bald as I am that you're still in North Carolina because it just means so much to be able to be so close. So Ashley, what are you at now? You're one office, one location. What are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm at one office, one location. I'm actually a little bit different than Dr. Heald. I'm a partner on an office, so myself and one other dentist own the office together. So how Aspen works is like Dr. Heald, she owns multiple offices, and as you grow and continue to add offices, you also will add partners in your practices so that the workload is shared. You have growth opportunities for your doctors that are working in your offices. And that's kind of where I'm at. The Florida market's a little bit different than North Carolina. It's a little bit more established. There's not as many new practices that are opening with availability to own them myself. So my family's here. I'm comfortable here. I don't really want to relocate. So this is kind of my spot where I'm going to be for a while.
So you're saying you like your family?
On some days.
My goodness gracious. But it's fun getting old. My 5 sisters, they always argued forever and ever, but now that they're all, between 50 and 60, now they're just, it's funny. And I'm the only guy that when they're getting too lovey-dovey, I always remind them of their crazy past, and now they're in denial. They're like, oh, Howard, I don't remember that. And I'm like, okay, wow, you're so old, you don't remember that? A lot of people are saying, and I feel I don't want to be the man expert on the difference between men and women dentists because I'm just a boy. But a lot of people say that it's tough being a female dentist because, we just, men, we just donate a gamete. You have to incubate it for 9 months, and there's a lot of issues with child rearing and all that. Do you think, if for all the girls in dental school, they have professional goals. I want to be a dentist. I want to own my own practice. I want to do all these things. But for a lot of them, biology saying, I want to be a mom. And if you ask me, I always say family first, business second. I mean, I'd rather be a better dad than a better dentist. I mean, I don't want a bunch of alphabet soup after my name. I want to have a good, positive relationship with my 4 boys. And I'm glad I never killed any of them because they made me 6 grandkids. So if you're ever thinking about killing your children, remember, it'll be worth it when you get the grandchildren. But if someone was asking you in dental school, say, Katie, Ashley, I really want to be a great dentist, but I really want to be a great mom. Do you think there's advantages at Aspen if you have 2 goals of familyhood and dentistryhood?
100%.
Absolutely.
Being with Aspen Dental provides you a network of support on so many different levels. So like Dr. Heald was already saying, she was saying that, we can focus more on the dentistry, and Aspen Dental or ADMI is focusing on helping us with the business side. That's already a headache off of your plate. You're able to do your dentistry at work and leave it at work and go home and enjoy your families. The other advantage is we're a huge network of doctors and providers, and we're truly a family, and we're here to help each other. So if something happens, we're able to extend help to other offices, whether we help take care of their patients or send an associate to cover their office. There's always a network of people there to support you. And it allows you the freedom to not have to worry and not have to stress about what's going to happen in my office if I need to stay home for a day, or if my daughter gets sick, or if I'm sick. There's always someone there to be there for you.
Now, do either of you already have children?
Yes.
How many each?
I have a daughter.
You have a daughter?
Yeah.
And Katie?
A 5-year-old son and a 2.5-year-old daughter.
So Katie, having a 5.5-year-old son and 2.5, and how old, Ashley, how old's your child?
He's 2.5.
Do you guys think it's easier to be moms and dentists with Aspen than if you would have just built your own office? Like, I got out of school May 11, had my own office on September 21st. Do you think you're in a situation that's easier for your job now than if you just had your own solo office?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And absolutely why?
So my husband also travels for work. So if something's going on in the office, if an emergency happens after hours and I have to go meet somebody at the office, if I had my own private practice, get the kids out of bed, haul them to the office, wait for somebody to come to the office. But with Aspen, we pick up the phone, call a regional manager. They handle it for me. I don't have to leave my house. I say, you need to handle it, and somebody will be in the office to fix whatever issue I have. And just from, if I'm on maternity leave with my 2 children, I know the doctor who's coming in to cover. I know my office isn't going to burn down. I can take 6 weeks or more to spend time with my children, and not feel pressure that I need to come back immediately after having a baby.
That is now. Do you see some people report? I've seen reports that that's why DSOs, over 60% of all their dentists are female. Do you see that? Do you agree with that number, or do you know what that number is for Aspen? What percent of their dentists are female versus male?
I don't know for Aspen in general, but I know that we have a lot of female dentists because I have lots of came before me that help set the groundwork, and I mentor several that are younger than myself as well. So in my specific region, we're more female than male, but company-wide, I can't really speak to that.
Yeah, I've seen several reports that more than 60% of all the dentists that go be in a DSO or an associateship or whatever are female, and I think it's I just think it's obvious. Another thing I've noticed is that when I was little, I had 5 sisters, so I'm very sensitive of all those issues because they always affected me. Like, whatever girls couldn't do back then in the 60s, man, all my playmates couldn't do. So then Howie couldn't do it. You know what I mean? So if my sisters couldn't swim in the river, but I could, then I'm swimming alone in the river. That's no fun. You want to go fishing and swimming with your sisters. So it was very, very weird. But I noticed at the time, all the OBGYNs were males, and now I notice they're almost all females. And I'm seeing that shift in pediatric dentistry. Moms, you could get the number from your own calling center. I went up and met Bob at his calling center over here in Chandler and fielding all the incoming calls, and that guy was telling me, I thought he said 85% of the incoming calls to schedule were female. Have you ever heard a number like that?
Not surprising. I haven't, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And so, if moms are making the appointments and she's got 2 people to pick from, and she's got a 2-year-old and an 8-year-old, and she's looking at you, and then she's looking at this 58-year-old grandpa, me, I mean, didn't it just feel more natural? Plus, if you look back at some of the terms, like in OBGYN, they call it a hysterectomy. Hysteros is Greek for crazy. I mean, just rude names that is like only a man could call that procedure. It was crazy times, and now I see the same thing happen in pediatric dentistry. When I go to residencies in dental schools, and say they have 6 people in their pediatric residency class, it's 5 ladies and 1 man. And so I've always said, In fact, the first person I told this to was Teresa Murphy back in 1989. I said, well, I really believe since everybody's afraid of the dentist, and I know some of my four boys, when they got hurt, they wanted mom, not dad. And I just think the whole world thinks that women are more gentle and they're all afraid of pain at the dentist. I told her that when she got an associate, to even make sure that's a female, just brand a female dental office. And I think that's a massive competitive advantage. Do you think being a woman dentist is a competitive advantage to the U.S. dental market?
I think it can be. I think it definitely can be. When I first started Aspen and as an associate, I worked with a male doctor. And so if somebody was particularly afraid or really was not feeling the male dentist in the office, they would say, send in the angel. And so they would send me in to kind of smooth things over and make people feel a little bit better. And if they were having a rough time. So I definitely think it can have some advantages.
What do you think, Ashley?
I think it can as well. I've had patients that specifically said they've come to me or to my office because we are a female staff. I'm a female dentist. And I also think you get the opposite as well, though, especially with the older population. They expect something. When you picture a dentist, you don't always picture a younger female dentist. And so I think sometimes there's some misconceptions there. But our goal is always to make the patients comfortable and to make them feel at home and at ease and win them over that way.
So, that exact experience happened in my office back in 87, 88, 89, and where my female associate went to give a shot, and a man that was actually older than me at the time grabbed her arm and said, shouldn't the doctor do that? And she was upset with him, and I'm like, well, him just is. I mean, it just, some things is what it is. I mean, if you don't like the next galaxy, Andromeda is moving in and going to crash with our galaxy. And then, within a billion years, the Milky Way and Andromeda are going to crash. Well, I don't like that, but it just is. So I said, so it's our fault. And I was looking at the staff, and you couldn't tell anybody was different. I said, if I was in the hospital and a guy came in my office wearing a tool belt and he had drills and pliers and all that and started to start an IV, I would have said no, So we immediately went to doctors look like this, hygienists look like this, assistants look. So we got 4 uniforms for 4 different positions in the office. And I think that was clarity. You knew if someone had on this uniform, you knew what they did in the office. So do you guys do that, or do the doctors wear totally different looking scrubs or outfits than assistants, hygienists, and admin?
I've started to where I always wear a white coat so that and the rest of the staff isn't wearing one. And now with COVID, things are a little bit different. Everyone kind of looks the same again, but that is what it is. It's one of those things.
Yeah. So a big problem with millennials is, and I don't want to be that old guy, look how bad we left the country for you guys. So, old people like me have nothing to complain about millennials, but it is obvious that they change jobs frequently. Like if you go to the FANG stocks, which is Facebook, Apple, Alphabet, Netflix, Microsoft, all those, their average employee only lasts 1 to 2 years. Amazon's the shortest. If you work for Jeff Bezos, you're gone in a year. And Facebook has the best perks, the best everything amazing. And they only keep their employees 2 years because, you could be working at Facebook for 2 years and some guy from Uber will walk up to you or meet you at a bar and say, you got to get into driverless cars, and bang. Like my uncle that lives up the street here, he got a job with Mobil Oil when he was 16 and he retired at 66. He had one job. So it's not just DSOs, it's private practice. Whenever you meet a dentist 5 years out of school, they've had 5 different jobs. And it doesn't matter if it's private practice, Indian, public health, whatever. They just job hop a lot. Do you see that where you're at in Aspen? And what do you do to try to retain people? But most importantly, why did you guys stay? I mean, you guys have been there, 7 years? So both of you have been there 7 to 8 years. How come you haven't had 7 to 8 different jobs in 7 to 8 different years like everybody that works for Apple and Facebook and Google?
I think the biggest thing for me is security. You know what you're doing every day. You know what you're getting into every day. You have the support you need to do it, and you have the autonomy to decide what this career can look like for you. You can be an owner of multiple practices. You could own one practice. You could partner. You could stay as just an associate. There's so many different options and pathways that it provides you with the decision for yourself. No one's making that decision for you. And as for our staff, I mean, just like anywhere else, you've got to treat them like family. I've gotten to the point where I do all my own hiring, and I hire off of personality. If everyone in the office gets along well and they're happy to come to work every day and they work great together, they're more likely to stay with you. I think most of my staff have been with me for 3 or 4 years now at this point, and we're happy. We're a good family. We work great together. We're here to take care of patients, and we all get to go home at the end of the day and have our own family time.
Okay, so you obviously are a leader. I mean, you're attracting and retaining and keeping employees. There's a lot of dentists who can't attract them and can't retain them. And where does this leadership in you come from? Where was it sports? Was it Girl Scouts? Where does this leadership skills come from?
I grew up playing sports. I have 2 younger brothers, so I was always the oldest in the family. I think that has part of it from growing up. My parents always instilled into us that, we need to take ownership for our actions and be kind to people. And I grew up playing soccer my entire life. And I think that's a big part of it. And it's just something inside you. It's a desire and a will to be around people and grow and mentor people as well.
So your big sport was soccer?
Yes.
That is amazing. One of the neatest gifts of lecturing around the world was I was lecturing in Africa, and that country's team was in the World Cup. And I always thought Americans, they had serious fans. You don't even know what fans are till you've been in Africa during a World Cup. And the only people who came close to that was I got to watch another game in the World Cup years later in Paris, France. And those guys were so crazy, the police had to come. I mean, I literally thought they were going to have to bring water cannons to a soccer game. So because I remember when the Arizona Cardinals came to town, the newspaper, the big issue for the first 5 years is a lot of proper people didn't think they should serve alcohol because the fans were drinking alcohol and being too rowdy. And I'm like, they look like a church service compared to Paris, France, and Africa. I mean, you think you're at a wedding, not a sports game. But do you think it's everything? I mean, your number one thing is my book, People, Time, and Money. Uncomplicate Business. You only manage 3 things: people, time, and money. And if you get an A on people, you can get a D on time and money and still be rich and successful and live a happy life. You look at the sports teams. I mean, the only thing that matters is you have the right players on the team. It doesn't matter if the stadium has a retractable roof or artificial turf or real turf. It's the people. And I'm always telling dentists that have a lot of staff turnover that I say, well, who's picking these people? And they go, I have. And I say, okay, buddy, you've been picking people for 10 years, and it looks like you're really bad at it. So, let's get someone else to do it. Or do you think if someone was young and they were afraid of the responsibility and they're like, okay, I'm 25, I just got out of dental kindergarten, I don't know if I can lead a team, I don't know why they'd follow me, all this stuff like that. Do you think you were born this way, or do you think they can learn that? Is there things they can read? What would you suggest to young dentists? Do you mind me asking how old you are? Have you hit the big 3-0?
I'm 33.
33, okay, just barely. Katie, what about you?
34.
34. Did you guys have these skills at when you're still in your 20s? At 29, did you have these skills, or is this something that being thrown? If your family, if your brothers push you in the swimming pool, you just got to learn how to swim. Do you feel like you went in and didn't have these skills, and after you were thrown in the office, you just had to learn them on the spot? And what helped you learn them, or what?
I think there's definitely a learning that goes along with running an office. I think Aspen lays really good groundwork from starting you as an associate, and you don't have all of the responsibilities. You maybe manage, a dental assistant, tell them what you want, what you need. And then as you feel more comfortable having more challenging conversations, telling people what you want, then also your skills develop. You can become a managing clinical director, and then you have additional responsibilities to running the office, and then eventually a partner or an owner. But having those little pathways to build foundation of leadership and having a team of people behind you with Aspen and ADMI who have a lot of leadership experience, who have managed a lot of people to give you some guidance is really very helpful. So I think being a female and being a little bossy and definitely helps get what I want and what I need. But I think that Aspen really lays a very good foundation to developing people into very effective leaders.
I would also want to switch to, we're really supposed to be patient focused. And when I talk to dentists, they believe they're dental focused, but they're just not. They want to believe it, but like the Federal Reserve has the most PhD economists of anywhere in the world. I think they have like 3,200. And they've come out with reports that said, America's got 325 million people, and 100 million of them can't go to any doctor Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And then I'll say to the dentist, well, what are your hours? And they say Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4. And I'm like, okay, well, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, your dental office just lays there idle. All your assets, all your fixed costs, rent, mortgage, equipment, bill out, computer, insurance updates, professional dues, it's all sitting there idle while patients are calling your practice and they have pain. We see it in the emergency room data. Here in Arizona, 8% of emergency room visits are odontogenic in origin. And if you go back in time, the lowest it ever was 6%. Do you feel that being in a group practice and having partners and having a larger entity, that you're able to become more patient-focused instead of dentist-focused?
Absolutely. It allows you to extend your office hours, offer Saturday appointments, offer late in the evening appointments, because you have additional doctors and additional support so that you're not burning out one provider. You can't ask one person to work 60, 70 hours a week and not get burnt out. It's not possible. So when you have a support network and multiple providers, you're able to extend those hours and offer times to patients that's more convenient to them. Access to care is important, especially in dentistry. And I think being in part of Aspen Dental allows that to be not as big of an issue.
Another thing is when you go back in time, in retail, you go back to the 300 years, we got good data around the world of retail. And it started out, 300 years ago with a little bitty business about the size of a one-car garage. And then you lived upstairs above it, and they called it a shop house. And the strategic advantage that won for 3 centuries in a row is that the next generation always made it bigger, because you had more selection, you had more convenience, and so one shop house was replaced by people who had 2, and then it went to 4 and to 8, and it maxed out at about 250,000 square feet for your Walmarts and IKEAs and Costco's and Sam Clubs, and then Walmart said we actually we got too big, we hit our max, we went over the wall. Now we have a lot of pushback, like people like me. I mean, I would rather buy all my groceries at 7-Eleven than go to Safeway. The thought of going into Walmart, my God, it's like going to a Cardinals football game, which means you have to be drinking on the way there. So I've noticed that the new most outstanding business models that I've seen in the last 10 years, it was happening 20 years ago, and I wasn't smart enough to recognize it, but it's surely now in the last decade, was like pediatric dentists plus orthodontist. 1 + 1 = 3. Or periodontist plus prosthodontist is getting huge. Look at Clear Choice. They took the oral surgeon with the prosthodontist with the lab tech and came out with Clear Choice. I mean, and people don't track their customers. Like when you call a dental office and you ask them, you say, like, are you open on Saturday? If you have to say no, we track that. I mean, I want to know. Like dentists will call me and say, Howard, do you think I should take this Blue Cross and Blue Shield PPM? I'm like, what do you think I am, a palm reader? I mean, this isn't, it's crazy. I mean, how many people have asked you, do you take Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO? And they don't track anything. And we've been doing that since 1987. I made little prescription pads called Getting to Yes, track all the no's. And you have to wonder what a pediatric dentist thinks. I mean, what % of moms that take their baby to a pediatric dentist will ask this question? Do you think Boo Boo's going to need braces one day? I mean, that's probably the majority of them. So now, and then what did the pediatric dentist do? It's all about me, and it's a me, me, me. I always said the national anthem for dentistry was me, 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 self, 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 me, self, self, me, self, 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 me. Oh, you want an orthodontic opinion? Well, here, you're going to have to leave my office and make an appointment and drive down the street. And I know you had to leave work and pick your kid up from school and all that, but, you know, it's all about me, and I'm a pediatric dentist, and I don't really understand why everybody keeps asking me orthodontic questions. It's kind of irritating me. And well, other people just embrace it, like, God. I mean, look at Walmart. First of all, what percent of moms do you think going to take their 5-year-old to a pediatric dentist would ask about their bite and their future orthodontic needs? What would you two say?
It's pretty high. It's probably at least 4 out of 5.
Yeah, 4 out of 5. I mean, 4 out of 5. If 4 out of 5 people that went to Walmart wanted something, I don't know, you think they'd carry it? I mean, my God. I mean, Walmart won't carry anything. The space it takes. By the way, someone sent me this Dentistry Uncensored with Howard Ferran. Joy comes in the morning. Oh, thank you. Whoever sent this, thank you. But in Walmart, whatever the volume of space this takes up, it has to turn 12 times a month, or they don't even carry it. I mean, they know what they're doing. So there's a lot of specialists out there, and I wanted to, there's, there was 9 when I got out of school. Now there's 12. There's oral surgery, endodontics, periodontics, pediatric dentistry, orthodontics, prosthodontics, dental anesthesiology, oral facial pain, oral med, oral path, oral radiology, and dental and public health. How many of those 12 do you have any of those come into your office, or do you have to refer them somewhere else?
We have them come into the office. We have an endodontist and an oral surgeon come into the office.
And those are the top 2 you always see is oral surgeons and endodontists. But you have only had 2. Do you think you'll ever do any more? Perio, pedo, ortho, et cetera, et cetera?
I think probably 2 for a little while. Aspen's expanding its ortho, but as a GP on a GP level. But I think perio and oral surgery and endo really fill a lot of the needs that we have for right now.
And what about you, Ashley?
Yeah, we're the same. We have an oral surgeon and an endodontist that come in once or twice a month each. And I get all the time, well, can I do this here? Well, can I do this here? And it's really helpful to say, yeah, sure you can. Absolutely.
And it's not just that. It's like, even when you write an antibiotic, you know that sometimes they're not going to fill it or whatever. And when I was worried about Ludwig's angina, or and they're young, and it's always young boys. They're fearless. They're not going to die. They can climb up a palm tree and saw off a branch. They're never going to fall. And I got really unlucky with a kid who didn't take his antibiotics and ended up 3 days later had to be hospitalized somewhere. So I started having antibiotics in my office to where I did not want you to be in charge of this part of the treatment. You know what I mean? It's like I'm scared. You're going to take this, 2 grams right now in front of me. Here's the prescription to go get it filled, but I want to make sure you get this dose or whatever. It just really increases treatment plan acceptance when it's faster, easier, higher in quality, lower in cost, and smaller. So convenience means you're going to happen. I mean, everybody in retail knows about impulsive shopping. I mean, why are all the candy bars 2 feet off the ground? I mean, I take my grandkids any grocery store, and I mean, of course they're going to reach for all these bright colored packages, red and yellow and orange, at their eye level, 2 feet off the ground. And if you say, yeah, you can do it right here, come back and the specialists will come here and do it, it's more likely they're going to get treatment. Would you agree or disagree?
Absolutely.
I completely agree.
Yeah. That's why we also stress same-day starts. Get the patient started that same day if you can.
That's everything. Same-day starts. And a lot of the dentists, they can't do that because they don't have any capacity. When you look at their cost is they charge, the number one cost is your insurance PPO reduction that you agreed to in contract for a volume discount. So you charge $1,000 for a crown, but if you sign up with this PPO, they're going to pay you $650. So that 35% nationally across in America, it's about 42%, and that is the number one overhead cost in dentistry that didn't exist when I got out of school. And then the second would be labor. That's 20 to or 25%. You routinely see it all the way to 30. Labs 10, supplies 6. Operatories, they don't even show up on the breakout, and your accountant doesn't even break out the operatory costs. And they call up the office, they say, I have an emergency, and they're looking if they have a chair. And it's like, why don't you have an emergency chair or two? And the two that you just mentioned that come in your office, oral surgery or endodontist, they are the most likely to have 2 emergency rooms. An emergency room is a room that no one's scheduled in. Like a lot of dentists say, well, yeah, my hygienist room 1, I work mainly at a room 2, sometimes 3, but room 4 is for emergencies. I'm like, dude, there's 3 appointments in that room every day as far as I can go back in the schedule. That's not an emergency. So when someone calls with an emergency and you're looking for a chair and you don't have a chair, I mean, for some reason you think chairs are your constraint, your cost, and they're not. And then the funny thing is, dentists, I say, well, what's your complaint? What's one of your big complaints? No shows and cancellations. Okay, well, that if emergency came down and you thought you were just going to get a PA and exam and write a prescription and get a diagnosis, and then they tell you, oh, your 10 o'clock didn't show or just canceled or whatever. Now you realize, oh, my God, now I got a whole hour to spend with this emergency, and I can do same-day treatment. I think when dentists don't know their treatment plan acceptance rates, and by the way, I don't like people sharing treatment plan acceptance rates when a lot of it includes Botox and veneers and bleaching and bonding. I mean, let's be a doctor first. Nobody ever needed a facelift or any of that stuff. And I can't sell. I mean, for me to tell you two ladies, Katie, Ashley, I think you two should bleach your teeth. You're looking at me saying, yeah, you should lose 30 pounds, get a tan, and wear a wig. You want to go for round 2? So, but for doctor stuff, things that you need for epidemiological reasons to lower the disease missing and filled teeth of your community, my gosh, the more accessible and available it is, the more the treatment's going to get accepted, and then you're going to be a better dentist.
Absolutely. It's helpful to have Aspen kind of give you guidelines with your scheduling and suggestions on how to effectively schedule so that you have the ability to work in those same-day starts. And it's something that, as an organization, we want to be a yes organization and be able to say yes to these patients.
Getting to yes is everything. So here's another thing an issue I want to talk. I want to take advantage of talking to 2 younger doctors in their 30s. In 1900, there were no specialties, and healthcare was 1% of the GDP. By the end of the century, 2000, it was 14% of the GDP. 14 cents of every dollar spent was on healthcare, and there were 58 medical specialties and 9 in dentistry. Now it's 2020. Dentistry's gone up to 12 specialties, and the cost of healthcare is up to 17%. Yet you see all these kids coming out of school, and they tell you, right out of school, oh, I want to learn how to place implants. I want to learn how to do clear aligners. I want to do molar endo. I want to do silver diamine fluoride. I want to do prosto. I'm going to go get doc certified for anesthesiology. I mean, it's like, so basically, you think we're going back in time? I mean, what consumer? I mean, my eye doctor, if you have a problem with glaucoma, he sends you to a person who just specializes in diabetic glaucoma. If it's a retina, he's got a retina detached. If you just want glasses, he has the optician in the building. I mean, why do so many millennials think they're going to master all 12 dental specialties when there's just only 24 hours in a day? I mean, where does this come from, and what is your advice on someone who wants to place implants, do Invisalign, molar endo, and you name it?
I think they just don't know what they like yet. They don't know what they really like, and they don't know what they're good at. And so once they get into practice, they're going to figure out, well, I thought I liked endo, but I don't want to work in another small dark hole, and I'd rather focus my efforts on surgical skills. So I think they need to get their feet wet, figure out what they really like, and they can start to hone their surgical skills on a couple of things rather than trying to master all of them.
Yeah, because if you're a master of everything, if you do jack of all trades is a master of nothing. What do you think, Ashley?
Yeah, I think that all the new grads that I encounter, I think they're very ambitious and driven, and they want to learn, and there's a thirst for knowledge, which is super important in our field. But the advice that I give them is, let's work on our bread and butter dentistry first. Let's work on getting our hand skills, learn the business side of dentistry a little bit, and then we start piecing in those extra pieces over time. It's not going to happen overnight. And I agree with what Katie said. Like, we need to focus on what you're good at, start there, and then challenge yourself as time goes on.
So what would you say is bread and butter dentistry?
Well, at Aspen Dental in particular, you need to be good at extractions. You need to be able to handle geriatric patients and medically compromised patients, fillings, crowns and bridges, hygiene, proper diagnosis, comprehensive dentistry. We don't want to do piecework dentistry that's not going to last for the patient, and we want to make sure that their disease is controlled. So start there, then we move on to bigger things. Know your limits, which is a hard thing for a lot of people to do, but you've got to know your limits.
Yeah, and I think that I recommend that you learn one specialty every 5 years. Not that you're going to be as good as an oral surgeon, place implants, do bone grafting, and do a Lafort fracture, and do it all on 4, but just so that you stay motivated and cross-trained in the diagnosis and treatment plan. Because I remember when I came out of school, I had a really, really bad attitude about sinus lifts. And it wasn't until I went and got my fellowship in the Mission Institute with Carl Misch, where it was in Pittsburgh, 3-day weekend, 7 weekends. And it wasn't that I was going to come back and do that and master that, but it certainly changed my knowledge, my diagnosing, my treatment planning. And I realized a lot had changed since what I had learned in dental school. And you don't know how old that is, because some instructors are up to date and some instructors are talking about stuff 10 years ago. And if you just do the same thing over and over and over, it can lead to burnout. So I love every 5 years, I'm going to pick one of the 12 specialties, and I'm going to chase it hard and try to learn everything I can about it, and maybe do some of the simple procedures, but you're not going to be a master of all trades. I want to switch to something current, the pandemic. I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's evidently there's some severe respiratory virus going around. A lot of seniors, and I've had them cry in front of me. I mean, real tears, that have lost their self-esteem because they didn't get any clinic time. And they say, I only did root canals on typodonts. I never did a canal on a live human. And they just feel like they don't even have enough self-esteem to knock on your door. They're like, well, Katie would laugh if she knew my skill. What would you say to the pandemic class who probably got shortchanged a lot of clinic hours?
I think they shouldn't doubt themselves. They are stronger than they think, and skills can always be taught. You can always still learn the skills, whether you want to go into a residency program or come into a DSO. There's people that will mentor you and that will give you the opportunity to start and learn those skills and get your hands back working again.
Ashley, what do you say?
There's a lot of dentistry to be done, and there's no need to feel any certain way. It's not anything that you could have controlled by not being able to have clinic time. There's factors at B. It's just part of life. So acknowledging the fact that your skills aren't where they could be is the first step, and knowing that there's so many opportunities for learning out there. There's so many programs of CE, DSO. Aspen Dental is wonderful at mentorship. We have doctors all around the country that love to help people learn. Growing your hand skills and growing your patient interactions just takes time, and you can do that in the workforce. You just have to put yourself out there.
Well, will you go into that in more detail specifically for Aspen? Like, if she got a job for Aspen, now you say you have oral surgeons and endodontists come in. Like, when the oral surgeon comes in and is doing extracting wisdom teeth and implants, would she be allowed to assist and learn that way for oral surgery and endo? Do you have online courses? Will you talk in more detail about how they could advance their training by working for Aspen?
Sure. We have an online learning and development page where there's on-demand CE or webinars all the time, weekly, daily. You also spend your first month with the company. You are spent with an established training doctor, a mentor doctor. You spend an entire month with them and it's custom. Your training is custom fit to you. So things in areas where you need to improve, that's what we focus on. I'm mentoring a doctor right now who just graduated, and we spend that time learning the business and learning hand skills and working side by side together. I can assist her. She can assist me before she even gets into her own office where she'll be practicing on her own.
And by the way, I want to point out, if you're wondering, is Howie doing a paid commercial for Aspen? No, $0. You can't buy someone this old. The thing I love about DSOs, again, is they're the only ones hiring my homies. I mean, I've been, and to tell you how bad it is, so Dentaltown started on St. Patrick's Day, 99, and we've had free classified ads, a very robust deal, and there's always been about 1,000 dentists selling their practice for sale, and about 5,000 jobs for associates. And when the pandemic came, it immediately went to 2,000 selling. And all my practice transition guys are saying, dude, if they're 60 years old and they've never been divorced, this is the last straw. If you've never been divorced and you're a 60-year-old doctor in America, you can retire. And they just said, forget this. I'm not going to do all this PPE and all this crap. They just put up for sale. Now, if you got divorced one time, you'll push back your retirement a decade. And if you get divorced twice, you'll actually die at the chair in the operatory. But I have a lot of respect. Right now, the 5,000 associate jobs is down to 1,000 on Dentaltown. Those 1,000 jobs, they're all DSOs. And then the other thing I like about the DSOs is how I think it's sad. Doctors are always saying, people don't treat dentists like real doctors. And I say, well, you're not a real doctor. And they say, what do you mean? I said, well, go out on Sunday. I raised 4 boys. You fall down and hurt yourself and break a leg on a Sunday, the ambulance man shows up. He takes you to the hospital. They're all staffed. All the doctors are ready to go. If you broke all your teeth out on Sunday in Phoenix, Arizona with 3.8 million people, you would find 2 unicorns and a mermaid before you found a dental office open to see you. And that's why when they have an emergency, they go to the real doctors at the emergency room, which is 6 to 8% of all the emergencies, because the dentist can't be found. And I see far better consumer-oriented behavior with extended hours, more available. They just have better availability. And availability and accessibility and affordability, if you keep one eye on the patient and one eye on cost. And if you don't use your brain to drive down cost, then this human can't afford the freedom to fix their teeth. And anybody, and it's always weird dentists that they always take their eye off cost, and they tell me what they're doing. And I'll say, well, is that going to be faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost, smaller? Well, actually, it's going to take a lot longer. Instead of doing a root canal in an hour, it's going to take 2 hours, and it costs twice as much. And you got to buy this $50,000 machine and $120 of disposables to rinse the tooth out. And it's like, oh, okay, so you're more interested in the 86 car companies before Henry Ford that no one ever remembers or talks about, where they just made one car for a rich king, but it was old Henry that said, I'm aiming for the middle class. And my entire Ferran family tree, in fact, we were kicked out of 23andMe. They said, what's going on here? This is too many mutants in there. My whole pedigree is middle class. You know what I mean? And if it's not affordable, then it's not accessible, then they're going to get their teeth pulled. And too many people wear dentures because they couldn't afford the freedom to save their teeth. So there's a lot of great things. So this is not a commercial, but I do think there's so much that they could all learn. So go back into that, like right now, are you guys hiring now from the COVID class of 2020?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. And can I ask specific, I want to ask specific about money, because the American Dental Education Association says the average debt per graduating dental school senior in 2017 was $287,331. I don't like that number because it's a median number. I don't like median numbers. I'll take mode any day because 17% of those kids didn't have any student loans because their mom and dad were dentists and paid for it. So they're basically coming out of school $100,000 a year in debt. So if they 4 years out of school, $400,000 in debt. And by the way, she thinks that's a lot of money. And basically the average cost of raising a child in America from birth to 17, not including college, is $233,000. So my mom had 7 kids. I had 4, so I already had 3 less kids. So I could have gone to dental school 3 different times and been even with my mom. And then I always have to remind people that if you think your student loans is a lot of money, my God, I hope you call me first when you get divorced and see what that number is. So I don't know why I have to look this up, but my divorce cost $3,800,000 and my student loans were $87,000. So my divorce was 43 times more expensive than my student loans. But she doesn't know someday that she's going to have to pay someone $1 million to go away. Right now, she thinks that student loan's a big number. So she's thinking, well, if I get a job for you, how much would I make?
So you're guaranteed a daily rate. So come plague, locust, virus, you show up to the office, you get a daily rate. And for a young graduate who has a tremendous amount of student loans, that's a very secure feeling that you show up, you try to do good work, you see your patients, and you're going to get paid.
And what's the daily rate?
It varies from owner to owner and across the country.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I even asked that question because the most misleading term in the world is the United States of America. I mean, no one talks about the EU like they talk about America. Everybody would break out Germany from Greece. Everybody would break out Spain from Portugal to Denmark. But we include Alaska to Miami to Parsons, Kansas to New York City. So like on the price of ortho, the true price of orthodontics in America from board-certified orthodontist is $4,000 to $7,000 a case because it depends. Are you in Salina, Kansas, or are you in San Francisco downtown? So it does vary state to state. So they got a guaranteed day rate is also versus like 25% of production or anything like that to use the benefits of in economics, incentives matter. And it just drives me crazy when people from socialized healthcare systems say, well, you know, I went in and had an operation and I didn't even have a copayment. Oh, so you basically say that we should just throw away all economics then? Well, that's great. Have you told all the universities that everything we've learned since Adam Smith doesn't apply to you because you're special? I mean, if the copayment mattered, everybody in Medicaid, Medicare, every hospital, if they didn't have at least a 5% copayment, I think it should be 10% because when you tell grandma, oh yeah, you need a new hip and you need 2 new knees. And she doesn't have any copayment. She just says, okay, you're the doctor. But when you say that's actually $50,000 a knee, and you'll need to give me $5,000 for that knee, about half the time say, are you kidding me? I'm going to take buffering. I'm not going to spend $5,000 on a knee. Okay, so you won't spend $5,000 on your own knee, but my taxes are supposed to pick up $50,000 for the whole knee. I have seen where people need operations so many times. Doctors don't realize how influential they are. I have seen this happen so many times where the man goes to the dentist and he says, Johnny, I'm sorry. I know you've been smoking a long time, but you have to stop. This is killing you. I mean, these gums are all rutted and inflamed. And forget the gums and losing all your teeth. Your heart's only a hand away from these gums, and dude, that you're gonna die of a heart attack. You gotta quit smoking. And then the mom always comes in. I've been telling him to quit for 20 years, but old Dr. Fran tells him one time, and he stopped. So maybe when you tell grandma she needs a new knee, she's like, and you know why you need a knee, because you're overweight and you don't exercise. And maybe she'll say, you know what, okay, I'm finally going to do it. My doctor said I got to lose weight and exercise, or I'm going to have to come up with $5,000 to get a knee. I mean, they just have delirious thoughts about economics, but a day rate is a guarantee, but production utilizes everything we've learned in 2 centuries of economic theory. So what is the other incentive? Does that vary location to location, or is that a standard percent of production number?
So it's actually not a percentage of production, which I actually really like. The best thing about the way Aspen doctors are incentivized is it's a team approach. So in private practice, you get paid a percent of production for what you do. And I hear stories all the time about how people get the crap work, right? So they get to do the molar root canals or the MODBL fillings and with insurance, and they're not producing. So how Aspen Dental's incentive program works is you get your daily rate, but then you're based off of entire office production. So your incentive is based off of what all of the doctors and the hygienists in the office are producing together, which is really nice. So it's a lower percentage than that 25, 30% that you would hear, but it's not just based off of what you're doing. It's what the entire office is doing together.
So the team-based part, what about you, Katie?
It's the same. It's really nice because you can utilize, if your schedule's full and you have an oral surgeon coming in, you can utilize the oral surgeon's schedule, put more surgeries on his schedule. You're taking care of the patients, you're getting them treatment in a timely manner, but then the whole office benefits from maximizing the schedules of all of the providers.
So does the oral surgeon put patients to sleep too? Do they do IV sedation? They do that? Yes. Do you have dental anesthesiologists come in, or just the oral surgeon does those?
For me, it's been just the oral surgeon.
Same for you. What if someone said, I'm really phobic and I'm really scared and I want to be put to sleep? Will the oral surgeon come in and do a sedation while you do the root canal, or not really?
I haven't had that happen. I think it might be something that would need to be discussed per the specialist, but it hasn't been a situation that I've had to encounter.
Well, I can't believe I got two doctors to give me an hour out of their busy day on a Tuesday to come in and talk to me. And I can't believe the hour already went by, but I just want you to each share some final thoughts about, the young kids. I mean, they're scared, they're unemployed, and it's really frightening, some of the people. I mean, they're really, really scared. What would you say to the kids, right now that are unemployed dentists and don't know what to do?
I would tell them that it's okay to be afraid. It really is. It's okay to be afraid and to have some uncertainties, but there are organizations like a DSO or a GPR, but a DSO is a great environment for you to learn those hand skills, be confident in who you are, and kind of get back some of that lost time that you didn't get when you were in clinic and you were in school. You're going to have a great host of mentors behind you, and Aspen's hiring. So the demand is here for our patient population, and we need the providers. And if you want to work, want to come in, we're happy to have you. So
what would they do? Just go to aspendental.com, or where would they go?
.com.
What's that?
AspenDentalJobs.com.
AspenDentalJobs.com. And okay. And if they say Howie sent you, I get a case of beer and a quart of Jameson, since I'm Irish. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
And what if she said to you specifically, Katie, would you recommend more? That I go get a GPR or go get a job at a DSO or Aspen?
I did a GPR. My GPR was wonderful, but I think Aspen has a lot of value that some GPRs cannot give you. You're going to get the mentorship. You're going to get the business education. You're going to get time to figure out who you are and what you like. So I think Aspen's a great option if the GPR route is something that they want to skip.
And Katie, I want to ask you a question because you're a neutral party. Ashley is in Florida, which is the absolute craziest state in the nation. And now everybody calls Arizona the Florida of the West. Would you recommend they go to crazy old Florida of the East or the crazy old Florida of the West in Arizona?
Ooh, I am not a neutral party. I say go to Florida. That's where I started, Florida all the way.
All right. And Ashley, what's your final thoughts? First of all, who's more crazy, the people of Florida or Arizona?
Oh, Florida for sure.
That is got to be. And you know why Florida is the craziest state? Do you know why it is?
Why?
Because something that all economists have said and all historians say, the problem with humans is when they're not transparent. You just got to be transparent. You can't be opaque. And all of Florida's crime and police and all that stuff is transparent. So the journalists have access to all this stuff. Katie, I know you got to go. If you got to go, I know you're waiting for a patient, but your final thoughts, Ashley.
I would just say that it's okay to be scared, and it's normal coming out of dental school. Yes, the pandemic and COVID has magnified those feelings, but there are jobs out there. There's a lot of dentistry to do. There are great doctors all over the country that want to mentor you and need your help. Patients need us. The demand is here. We're back to pre-COVID levels of demand, and we need providers to give that care. The student loans will go away. Your hand skills will come. If you want to do it, it's there for you to do it. And don't be closed-minded. I know when I was in dental school, so many doctors were like, oh, don't look at DSOs. Don't go to DSOs. Many of the professors in the school were anti-DSO. And it had me nervous to start at Aspen Dental. And I can't say that I made a better decision for myself. This place has helped me grow into the doctor that I wanted to become, a leader that I didn't even know that I was going to be, and has afforded me so many opportunities. And dentistry is a great profession. There's job security. You're going to be okay. It's all going to be okay.
And do you have any programs for student loans? I mean, if they stay with you a certain amount of time?
So high need areas where, like in markets where they're having a hard time finding providers, there are some student loan incentives. And then also Aspen Dental has a program with SoFi for student loan refinancing and lower interest rates and things like that. So there are definitely options out there. Yeah, absolutely.
And I just want to end with one short, succinct rant, and that is, it's market segmentation. Sometimes the markets are on price, like Cadillac sells the least amount of cars, lower the price, Pontiac, Olds, Buick, but you sell the most Chevys. And look at housing. You could live anywhere from a van down by the river to an apartment, a trailer, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom. The person who decides who's good and bad is the consumer. Dentistry does not start until a consumer pulls out $1, hands it to a dentist, says, will you help me? So the consumer gave birth to dentistry. They're not our patients. We're lucky to serve them. And then as far as fear, it's the same thing. The best analogy is childbirth. So many dentists and lawyers and physicians are so smart. They overanalyze everything, and then they get blindsided in risk. There's no good time to have a kid. Are you kidding me? Having a live human 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that'll walk out in the middle of the street and take a nap? Crazy. I knew that. So I made my 4 boys in 60 months. I mean, I knew the best time to have my 4 boys was 4 years ago, not 4 years from now. I mean, when I decided I wanted boys, or children, I came from a big family. I wanted 4, and I wanted them all out of diapers. When I decided I wanted 4 boys, I wanted them all out of diapers today. But that's not how it works. So everyone else was delaying. Just quit living in fear. It's like when you want to learn how to swim. You can walk around the swimming pool for 5 years, dipping your toe in, or you can. My 2 older sisters who are nuns just threw me in the deep end, and I almost drowned. So if you're thinking about having kids, quit thinking about it. Have them right now. Just stop what you're doing, make a kid, and then it'll be done. And then 5 years from now, you're glad you're here. So you're afraid of molar root canals. You're unemployed. Go to AspenDentalJobs.com, get a job. And of course you're afraid of a molar root canal. You've only done 10 or 100. I don't think you're even good at anything in dentistry until you've hit 1,000. So, the best way to hit 1,000 is go work in a really busy place where you can do 1,000 fillings in half the time, as a slow place that'll take twice so many years. So I know you guys got patients. I know you're being pulled. They're texting me saying, they got patients, shut up. So thank you so much for coming on the show. It was an honor to podcast you, Katie and Ashley. Really, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was an honor. Thank you.